wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. I don't know if any of you
Oh.
guys are cultured on that.
All my friends won't stop talking about that. And I'm from Arkansas. I don't care.
Sink in a lake. What are you, an amateur or something?
Yeah, I mean,
What are you
like,
doing?
Lake
there's
Superior
rowboats out
is
there.
about 80 feet deep and very. It's the second biggest lake in the world.
Yeah, that's how.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's no Atlantic, you know. It's no Pacific.
It's not the it's not the Indian,
Right.
buddy. It's not the Indian Ocean.
Only 80 feet.
Fun fact: my roommate calls Lake Michigan Ocean Michigan. So
Well, I think your roommate should actually get a college education.
that's what he's here for.
Oh my God.
Jeez,
I'm sorry, Harry. There's unnecessary
Shout out
shade being
Harry.
thrown your way.
It's okay,
Forever love
Harry.
Harry.
But with that, I think we're going to get into our first topic of today, which today I wanted to talk about busts in sports. I want each of you to share, in your opinion, the greatest bust of all time across all sports. This could either be a major signing or a draft pick or a trade even. Be creative. That's all I said in the email. And Laz, I'll start with you. Who is the greatest bust of all time in sports?
I mean, off the top of my head in recent memory, and this isn't even about his skill level. It's more about just his availability. I'm gonna go with Zion Williamson.
That is a
he's
take.
just an absolute behemoth of a man.
On the
that's
scale.
a lot of weight to put on them knees.
I
you
mean,
know?
he's tipping the scales.
I mean, he's eating the table.
His BMI is like 52.
I don't know. I mean, we've all seen.
he's built like a defensive lineman.
We've all seen what he did in high school and college to people. It was he honestly should be arrested for like attempted murder, for
Because
what?
he dunked on.
yeah, for
Well,
just
because
like
he had guys built like Ryan Halata guarding him in high school.
Unnecessary.
Slander college.
Could
Sorry,
you
bro.
guard him?
I am
Could
actually
you guard Zion
no,
Williamson?
but I'm a defensive mastermind
Yes.
in 5v5 basketball.
Yeah,
right
what are
now.
you?
Okay.
Yeah,
Isn't
I'm
your
gonna get
intramural
some
team
shit.
like 0-4
Yeah,
or something
Uzma
like that?
We are actually, Chris. We
Shout out
won
Uzma
last night.
Kappa.
We won last
More
night.
like
Shout
Luzma
out,
Kappa.
shout out Uzma Kappa.
Uzma Kappa.
Shout out Uzma
Luzma
Kappa.
Kappa.
We are 2-3
Ooh.
for your information, Chris Pittner. So
I
Okay,
refuse to believe it.
That's better
turnaround.
than any intramural team I've ever been on, so congrats.
thank you.
You've never got two
Drilled
wins?
a 3 last night.
Later
The
in the
bank
season.
was open.
2 and 3.
At
They're gonna start.
9:30 p.m. or
What's your
whatever
shot
time it
for?
was.
Are you like a? Are you a flicker?
Let's see a step back.
A step back. You want to do
Yeah.
a step back right now?
Yeah.
Sure.
On it.
live on Hawk Talk.
Okay.
Oh, I
All right.
Not terrible. Not
You know,
terrible.
the
I've seen
form-
Zion
worse.
is
No,
swatting
okay,
that into
okay.
the 17th row, into the press
Yeah.
box.
He's sending it through the
I
ceiling.
put no spin on the ball though. I hook up knuckleballs.
So you
So-
don't know.
So you just like launch it.
I kind of like just push it. Yeah.
Interesting.
I
It's all
don't.
about
I don't
the
put
flick of
spin
it.
on.
Hand in
I,
the cookie jar.
I
Look it
know.
up.
Right.
I never played
Zion would know a
basketball.
lot about that. For some reason, he can't shoot.
Yeah, you would think.
I used to know a lot about the cookie jar.
Being a defensive lineman or offensive
I've heard.
lineman and all.
I've heard
You've heard?
tall tales of offensive lineman Ryan Halata.
Yes.
You were an O lineman.
I know,
played
right?
center.
What the heck?
What?
I played center.
Did you go on Ozempic or something? Like, what happened?
No, I just cut.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
All linemen either go two ways after their playing days, up or down.
Correct.
Ryan went down.
I did. I was 40 pounds heavier.
Congrats. Real
Wow.
success story.
Yeah, I was 215.
I respect.
Thank you.
Respect.
Thank you.
Respect.
Thank you.
You're
I
a
got-
real inspiration.
Give me a sec.
Thank you.
I cannot find it. I am sorry. I was gonna try and find some applause.
You
Or
can
here
do
it
the
is. Here it
booing
is.
one. I see that.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you play the
Get fat
boo one?
again.
I could.
Petition for Ryan Halata to get fat again.
No, absolutely not.
This is what we think of that idea. All right. Let's move on to Colin. Who is your
Chris,
greatest
keep
pick
going.
of
Is that
all
ever gonna
time?
Stop? Okay.
Holy cow.
It was 11 seconds.
I'm going with Darko Milicic.
Mm-hmm.
Darko Milicic.
Exactly.
Always got to find a way to
Exactly.
bring LeBron into things too.
Yeah.
I never even said the man's name, Chris.
It was
I think
going to be
he's-
said.
I think
It was
he's
gonna be
really
It was
said.
going to be
Class?
said.
What?
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He was
same
my pick
2003.
Right after
Yeah.
LeBron, which I wasn't even going to mention. because obviously LeBron was going to be the number 1 overall pick.
Colin, be
Right.
serious
But
right now.
clearly
It was
he's
gonna
on-
come up.
Clearly, the guy's been on your mind a lot, Chris. You said his name before I could even think about it, but picked before guys like Carmelo Anthony, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, 3 Hall of Famers, and then before him, LeBron. You got in the middle there. You got a big stain on that whole draft class.
I mean,
Skid
people
mark.
talk about
PU.
the 2003
Milicic.
class as the greatest class of all time,
He's a
and then
he's a farmer now.
Yeah, he-
Darko's not.
what? Yeah, he's back in Serbia, isn't
Yeah.
he? Him and Nikola
But-
Jokic will be good friends in the future.
I saw a Jimmy High Roller video. Apparently, Darko Milicic is the reason Jokic is in the NBA because he convinced their family to move to America or something.
So there's a silver lining there.
So yeah, a real inspiring story if you really look into it. But him as a basketball player, just poo-poo. He was really good back in Serbia, but
Popo.
once he saw a bit of NBA action, he just folded. He just didn't have the heart for it. And 2nd overall pick before Hall of Famers, yeah, biggest bust of all time.
That's fair. Ryan, what's your biggest bust of all time?
I got 2 of them, but I first went with Kenny Galladay. That guy
Interesting.
signed a 4-year,
Literally who?
$72 million
So,
contract.
You know
Who?
who Kenny Galladay?
I'm gonna provide a little context. Detroit.
I have contacts, Chris.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I just got flamed on my own show.
You just
did.
told the host to shut
I think
up.
I'm out, guys.
Put the fries in the
You are,
back,
Chris.
Chris.
Well, okay, Chris, you drop the email and you make us
Brian
like
show.
go through with the topics, right? I'm not gonna not provide context.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right. So he was with the Giants. He signed the contract with the Giants, but he had 2 years of over 1,000 yards with the Lions. Ended his Giants tenure with 43 catches for 602 yards and 1 touchdown. It's being released 2 years into the 4-year contract.
I
This guy's gonna be
remember
a lawyer one day.
I remember drafting him in fantasy one year.
I watched Suits last.
A fellow Suits enjoyer on the show.
Thank you.
Who's your
Yeah.
favorite character?
I like Mike. Mike's smart.
I
Oh,
also like Mike.
Big Mike.
Big Mike.
Big Mike.
And then my second one is Anthony Rendon. That guy won a World Series in 2019 with the Nats, and then signed a 7-year, $245 million deal with the Angels, and he's been injured every year since. He has not played in more than 58 games in 5 seasons. He has not hit over 240 in his last 4 seasons with 13 total home runs.
What a stinker.
Yeah,
That's rough.
it's been awful.
To put
Fall
it-
off must be studied.
He's hibachi cooked, if you guys know what I mean.
He's hibachi meat, dog water. He's cooked.
He's cooked.
Correct. Mikey?
I also got 2. My first is going to be Jamarcus Russell,
Yep.
taken by the Raiders. Just
Yep.
one of the laziest players to ever do it.
Slam dunk pick.
Yep, just easy pick. But I'm also going to go with arguably the greatest Green Bay Packers draft bust of all time, Tony Mandrich.
I like that one too.
1980.
Drafted.
1989 selection. I think he was 2nd overall, if I'm not mistaken. And supposed to be.
I'm moving my mic.
All right,
Sorry, I got comfortable.
But he was promoted as arguably who was going to be the greatest offensive tackle to ever live, and then he just was poop. It was terrible.
Well,
he was just poop.
not to insinuate any rumors here, but I heard that he could have potentially been on the juice a little bit, and by the time he got to the NFL and drug testing was more widespread, he had to obviously stop, and well, the results
Well, that
showed.
makes sense.
Didn't Barry Sanders go after him in that?
I
draft?
Yeah,
want to
he
say
did.
that's correct.
He
He
did.
was the
Barry
Darko
Sanders did,
Milicic
yes.
of the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Or the
The
NFL.
NFL, you mean?
Yeah, of the NFL. He was the Darko Milicic of the NFL.
Darko Milicic is the Darko Milicic of the NBA.
Correct. Alex?
So I actually have, it's not like a draft bust, but it's like a trade bust, I would say. So this is the Chicago Bears and Carolina trade for
Oofda.
the Panthers got Bryce Young. So yeah, Carolina traded picks number 9, number 61 in the NFL, in the 2023 NFL draft. It's 2024 first-round draft pick, and it's 2025 second-rounder and wide receiver DJ Moore for just Bryce Young. And I think the Bears absolutely fleeced them.
Yeah,
out.
they both stink anyway.
Yeah, true.
They both stink.
I mean,
It's-
it's too.
why we
I
act
think
like
the
it
jury's
matters.
still out on Caleb,
is.
but it's not looking great.
It's that. I mean, didn't he get sacked 7 times the other day?
Nine.
9.
9
Holy
times on
cow.
Sunday.
9.
It's bad.
And they lost
9?
19-3, which we'll get into that more later.
Yes.
I'll put it that way.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness.
But really quickly before we move on to our first real topic of today, I want to go with slam dunk NBA pick Anthony Bennett, 2013, number 1 pick from the Cavs. His highest points per game in the NBA was 5.2. I think objectively, you can't think of a much worse number 1 overall pick than that.
Didn't he just start like messing around in practice? Like he would just show up and shoot like 5 full court shots and then leave.
I
pretty sure
never
he
saw
stopped
that, but
caring.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Sounds like me.
He only played.
Pulling
Sounds
up.
like an Alex Lazarus.
He only
type
played
move.
4 years in the NBA, started a grand total of 4 games as a member of the National Basketball Association. In his rookie year, only played 52, only played 13 minutes per game. His best ever shooting season was 42%, which is not great either. His best 3-point shooting season was 30%. There's just not much there.
That man haunts my dreams in NBA 2K14. You could drop a 100-point triple-double in the rookie showcase of that game, and Anthony Bennett's still going first overall.
True.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, those
think
old
your phone's
2K
ringing.
games, it was the best you could ever get picked at was like number 5.
Somebody's phone is ringing. It was vibrating the whole table.
With that,
Move on.
With that,
gotta show
I
it
think
to you last.
I think the best thing we can do is to move on, and we're gonna move on to our first topic of today, which is gonna be the tip-off because volleyball and basketball both have big matchups coming up. Basketball just started off their season. Women's off to a great start, 2-0. Men's tips off their season tonight against Carroll, who they beat by 9 points a season ago, 86-77. And then volleyball begins their WIAC tournament journey against in a rematch against Stout from their match the other day on Friday, I believe it was, where they won in 3 sets to 0, 25-22, 25-18, and 25-21 up in Menominee, Wisconsin.
Quick work.
They're going to be playing them in Whitewater this time, so they'll get the home court advantage. But I'm going to start with men's basketball really quick because they have yet to play. And Ryan, you said you have some insider information for us on how you think this season could potentially go, so take it away.
I do. I had the opportunity to officiate the inter-squad scrimmage they had on Friday afternoon. And Coach Wicks is running a pretty tight ship over there. He's not letting anything fly. I don't know if I can really say a lot of what I saw on Friday. But
I mean, it's also tough because everyone got minutes. You can't really tell rotations that well, but
no, but they split the team up in half. They had black and purple, excuse me. But the defense was like not great the entire scrimmage. Wixer actually threatened to have them start running suicides through practice instead of the scrimmage.
oh boy.
That's how bad it was. But they looked very tired towards halftime, little unconditioned. But Austin Ambrose and Carter Capstrin actually dominated the paint for both sides. And Jameer Barker and Isaac Vergs seemed to be the focal point of the offense for the black squad. And then the purple squad ran with junior Jake Quast and senior JT Hoytink. Did I say that right?
I believe so.
Hoytink. They were both leading the way. And then also junior forward Richie Warren played very well. He had a nice block and a nice and one as well on offense and defense. And then sophomore forward Brock Marino also got some very good minutes for the squad. But I think we're going to have a very good starting 5, very good bench depth. But don't be surprised if they get up to a slow start.
I mean, I think you kind of nailed all the points I wanted to get at with Carter Capstran taking a potential step forward this year. Brock Marino is another guy. He's 6'7",
Yeah.
has some potential with the size. Austin Ambrose, a transfer in this year, 6'9", and the team last year just felt like in some of their bigger games they were a little undersized compared to their opponents, and that was a big reason why they'd struggle at times was they just didn't have that post presence. Like Trayvon Chisholm was great offensively, but on defense he was just a little undersized compared to some of his opponents.
I could see a starting 5 potentially of Barker, Vergs. I'm not sure who
I believe it's Vergis, but
Is it Vergis?
I
Okay.
think so.
I'm not sure who they can run at the 3, but then it's going to be Caption and Ambrose as your forward and center. But they got to figure out the 3 yet. It could be Marino. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, Richie Warren looks like he could potentially
He's been
fill
very
that
well,
spot too.
So like they'll definitely have some good guys off the bench as well.
A lot of this team, I kind of touched on this a little bit last week, I think, was there's a lot of unknown around this
Correct,
team because a lot of the impact players from last year, both the Barnstables, James Kelly, and Trayvon Chisholm, heck, even Elijah Lambert is gone this year too. So it's like there's a lot of people stepping into bigger roles this year that we didn't get to see a ton of. So go ahead.
Sorry, I wanted to go back a little bit. You said you were officiating it, right?
Correct.
When he just started yelling at him about like threatening to run. What was that like? I feel like I'd be at like my friend's house and the parents are arguing. And I'm just like,
His dad's yelling
Well,
at him.
there
Yeah.
was also
Clean
another
up.
incident where he
Yeah.
called a foul across the court, and I didn't see much contact, so I let it play. And he yelled, "That's a foul!" And I was like, sure, I'll call my whistle. I mean, in my head, I'm like, you know a lot more about basketball than I do. But when he threatened to start, like, having him run, like...
I don't know what I would have done, dude.
So Purple was going up the court
That's where
super
you just
slow.
step out of the way,
Yeah,
probably.
right.
Exactly. Purple was going up the court slow, and he, like, Wixer comes on the court. He's like, stop. Right now, if we don't start hustling, we're going to run suicides. And I'm just like... Oh,
You heard him, fellas. You heard him.
Hey, all right,
You
fellas.
heard-
Let's pick it up here,
You-
guys.
Yeah,
It
that
was-
is something to note as we move forward because last year it felt like the team might have been a little disengaged, especially towards the end of the season. I know some of the returners here can probably attest to that a little bit, where they went on that 5-game losing streak to end the year. Definitely not the ideal way to finish the season. Chisholm and Delvin Barnstable were not coming back, and then Miles ended up transferring to St. Thomas, where he's playing very, very well so far to start out the year as well. But
They seemed unconditioned last year, and I feel like that's what he's trying to correct this year. And I just feel like they didn't really care. Plus, they had the coaching change, and they just had a lot of factors that.
Just like that sudden coaching change.
just
Yeah.
what could have gone wrong went wrong last
Just
year,
right.
pretty much.
Kind
It
of-
feels like this is almost like their chance at redemption.
Kind of felt like watching like a Darvin Ham coach team. Everybody's kind of in disarray, and there's not like that unity on the team. So it's really great to see Coach Wixer in preseason before the season even starts getting on their butts like that.
He
So
is, yeah.
that's just like. You can talk all you want about the players, but when it comes down to coaching and the energy on the team, that's just as important as the players themselves. So to see that's really good. And like we said, a lot of unknown with Carter Capstrain definitely going to get a bigger role this year, so we'll see how he adjusts to that. Guys like Brock Marino, Austin Ambrose, and Jameer Barker, he was the third leading scorer on the team last year and the lead assist man, and we can really expect him to take that leadership role. So with all that on his shoulders, we can see how he adjusts as well. But I don't know, like we were talking about, if Coach Wixer is really getting these boys sharp and getting them to play as a team, I think they have a lot of potential. Like we saw in the first half of the season, they started off really hot, and then towards the end of the season, it just kind of, that spirit that they had just kind of faded away. So if they can keep that throughout all the season, then they can be really competitive in the WIAC.
I mean, and it was tough too because last year they came into the year, like the year before, they were not even ranked going into the tournament, made a super improbable run to the Final Four, had a lot of breaks go their way, especially, and I believe it was their Elite Eight game against Johns Hopkins. Like the fact that they won that game was almost a miracle, just because the amount of things that went their way in that fourth quarter was just crazy. It was truly a magical run, and last year it just kind of felt like they didn't have that spark. But does anyone else, Mikey and Alex, you didn't really get a chance to talk too much yet on this one. What are your guys' thoughts as we head into the season?
Well, obviously going up against Carroll, I mean, you could arguably say the true test for Coach Wixer starts today. Since first it's his official first game as the official head coach, not the interim head coach of the Warhawks. But going up against a team like Carroll, I mean, you've beaten them 9 times, lost 0. You're 9-0 all time against this team. So it feels like if you lose this game, it feels like a really disappointing way to start when you lose to a team you've beaten every single time you've gone up against them. But going into the game, Akello and Kobe Simpson against Lakeland were absolutely insane for Carroll. No worries, Chris. The Lakeland slander, I already mentioned it pre-show. It's gonna be dimmed down. It's going to be dimmed down a
If
lot.
you want to
There
talk
still
about
will be a little
Lakeland,
bit.
talk about
They
it in the.
deserve it after what I saw Saturday.
If you want to slander Lakeland, that's fine, but do it in the game that we played against them.
Yeah, fair. But Akello shot a perfect 10 for 10 en route to a 24-3 and 8 performance, while Kobe shot 9 for 16 and established himself from beyond the arc during the game, shooting 3 for 7 from 3 for a 23-point performance. The two are easily the best lethal duo in Waukesha for them. So really going into this game, you just got to defend the perimeter, keep the ball out of their hands, and try to force a play in the paint and just see if that works out.
Yeah, Carroll shot 10 of 24 from the three-point line in that game, but only shot 6 of 10 from the free throw line. They won the rebound battle 39-35. Just looking at some of the shooting stats, they held Lakeland to 43%, and they shot 54% from the field, so that's going to be a key as well for Whitewater to shut that down. But Alex, any other final thoughts before we move on?
But yeah, I like a lot of what you guys said. I mean, Colin said it right. Like, coaching is super important, especially in basketball. And I mean, a first-year head coach and seeing how he got on his team during the scrimmage, I think that's huge. I think we need that, especially because of how things slowed down last season. Coaching is just huge for that. But yeah, for this game, I'm really excited on how this team works together. There's a lot of question marks because I mean they are a really young team, but like I think leaning on players like Brock Marino, who has shown steps forward since last season, can really help to like help us win tonight, as well as utilizing guys that we know can score points, like Jameer Barker, who had 684 last season. But yeah, as we said, lots of questions, and like Ryan said, I would not be surprised if they started off slow, but I mean, I love question marks, and I love when a team's young because you kind of get to see them develop. So honestly, I'm pretty excited for the season. And like Mikey said, I mean, we've never lost to Carroll before, so this is a pretty big game for us to make it 10 straight.
I think the way that I'm going to measure progress this year isn't so much the wins and loss column, but how they look game to game. Because I would not expect them, they're not going to most likely be a national championship contender this year, but they're looking to build a program. And if they can start to make steps in the right direction, hang with like a Platteville for a game or two or something like that, or give a Stevens Point, who's going to be pretty good this year, a good run, that's how I'm going to measure them, like making progress throughout the year. And if I can definitively say that they look better in their last game of the year versus their first one, I would see that as progress towards the future, and that would give me a lot of optimism moving forward. But moving on to the next team we're going to talk about is the Whitewater women's team, who started off hot this weekend with a top 25 win over DePauw, 64-58, in a game where it wasn't quite that close the majority of it. And then they went on and beat Lakeland University 78-35 on Saturday. Me and Colin were on the call for that game. Colin, I'll let you talk about their weekend so far since you were on the call.
Yeah, I really liked what I'm seeing from them so far. Obviously, that Lakeland game, they got off to a bit of a rough start. They didn't know how to really handle the aggressive defense from Lakeland. But once they figured out that they were just stacking bodies in the paint and how many fouls they could draw on them, they really got it figured out. Casey Corallo has really stepped into that leadership role that we expected her to do. She's already averaging 18.5 points. Filling up the stat sheet, assists, steals, we just see her all over the court. So when you lose a player like Aaliyah Grundahl, which is going to be a big story point all season, when you lose the best player in your program history pretty much, just seeing how that team adjusts and who steps up, and it's really been Casey Corallo so far. We can look for Maggie Troush to be a little bit better as the season gets rolling, and like we talked about during the game, Chris, just those early season jitters, a lot of those shots that you normally would make aren't going to fall, and we saw that with her going, I believe it was 1 for 5 from 3 or something like that, but overall, the team in that game just got better as the game went on. That's what you want to see from a championship, or from a team with championship aspirations, is able to adjust to the other team's play style and just get better as the game goes on. Things that they do have to work on, they're only shooting 31% from 3 so far and only 63% from the free throw line. So those are shots that obviously didn't matter much in the game versus Lakeland because it was really a rout, but closer games like DePauw, or when we get into our WEAC matchups, like missing open threes and missing free throws are really going to hurt you. And turnovers, they're averaging 21.5 turnovers a game. So
I was going to point that out. They had 26 turnovers on Saturday, which obviously that game was a bit more of a track meet than the DePauw game was, where there was more fundamental basketball, more set plays, offense, stuff like that. But in that Lakeland game, there was a combined 58 turnovers when you go through both of the teams.
They're just super annoying on defense. They are able to really, like I said, just crowd the paint. And while it resulted in a lot of fouls for them, we saw Bree McCurdy with, I think, 2 or 3 offensive fouls and just stuff like that can be really detrimental to the team. But like I said, they adjusted to it in the second half and played a lot better. I also want to shout out Mallory Olofsson, who so far both these games has had a really hot start, scored the first 5 points, I believe, both games for them. So she's been really good at establishing an early lead for Whitewater that they could build off of. So far I'm liking what I'm seeing from them. Like I said, some things they need to work on, but things that you can expect, 3-point shooting, turnovers, free throw shooting, things that normally get better as the season goes on.
Yeah, a lot of those kind of early season mistakes is what started it out for the team for sure. We got to see, I believe, the entire roster on Saturday as well too, where you even got to see some of the freshmen go into that game, players that you don't usually get to see come off the bench. But Laz, I'll let you take it away for a little bit. What are you expecting from this team moving forward?
From the women's team, I'm expecting a lot. I mean, we're already off to a 2-0 start. We have a ranked win. We have a win by almost 40 points, so there's a lot of confidence moving ahead. Like Colin said, losing Grundahl is a huge blow, but with people like Trouch and Casey Corallo stepping up, I really don't see anybody stopping us, at least in the WEAC. Maybe further down the road when we get into the Natties, which I'm sure won't be an issue for us to make. I mean, it's just this team sticks together like glue. Everybody works really well together. The coaching's good. It's just a well-built team, and I think it's a team that is purposely built to withstand this WEAC conference that we have. Because the WEAC conference for women's basketball and men's basketball, I guess, it's not bad basketball.
Not at all.
It's good basketball. So for a team to to come out here and already have a ranked win. I mean, yes, we are ranked 4th, but being ranked, whether you're 4th or 24th, like,
Still ranked team.
you're still a ranked team.
Correct.
You know, there's still competition there.
Well, not only that, Katie Hildebrandt was out this weekend. She had a boot on during warm-ups and obviously was unable to play. So it's unclear when she's going to be back, but I'm sure the team is going to be hoping for her to be back by WEAC play. Mia Gillis filled in for her, scored 6 points on Saturday. I don't believe she scored on Friday night. I could check really quick.
She had like 1 point, I think.
Yeah, she had
I
one
think
point. She
I
was
was
1
about
of
to
2
say
at the
just
free
one.
throw line.
She got on the board.
She got on the
That's
board, correct.
On the board.
One more
Also-
point than me this season.
We were talking about freshmen really quickly. I know we talked about this a lot Saturday, but I want to shout out the freshman Ashley Slabowski. Did not play versus DePaul. Got some early minutes versus Lakeland, and she gave head coach Carrie Corralo a reason to keep her in the game. She looked like a mini Casey Corralo out there. I mean, 9 points, multiple assists, rebounds, a steal in there. She was
2
just all over
steals.
the court. 2 steals, there you go. But she was all over the court, and when you can have a freshman come in for her first ever minutes of college basketball and make an impact right away, that's huge. So really excited to see how she develops as a player.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to the Fishbowl. What are your guys' thoughts? They also play at Carroll this weekend. Carroll is one of the, I believe they're coming in around 22 or 23rd in the country, and they're on the road for that game. Last year, they took them down by 14. What do you guys expect from that game?
I mean, Colin just mentioned freshmen making an impact, but we had that last year with Bree McCurdy. She's going into her sophomore season. I think, obviously last year, like, stats don't jump off the page. Like, she averaged 4.8 points per game, 1.9 rebounds per game, and 1.4 assists per game. But something stuck out to Coach Carrie Kroll, and that was her defense. Like, she started all 30 games as a freshman, and they're going to look to do that again. She started both games already. And I think if you have McCurdy and Corralo up top at the guards, I think that's a pretty good guard duo you can have for this Carroll game coming up on Saturday.
Mikey?
I mean, you kind of nailed it on the button. I mean, obviously, as we mentioned, Corralo stepping into that leadership role is going to be big here. Another piece of the puzzle I feel like we kind of overlooked, kind of Logan Lowry off the bench, especially against DePaul, 9-2-4 against DePaul, shot 4 for 5 from the field. So pretty solid piece off the bench. I think she had 27 minutes, I think it was,
Yes,
against DePaul
27.
off the bench. So coming off the bench and making a solid impact, exactly what you want there. But up against a team like Carroll, you got to look for Olivia Rangel. She's been pretty solid for them. Easily the player to watch for them. The senior guard was electric against Milwaukee School of Engineering. That's the team.
MSOE.
MSOE. But Natalie Palskill, I think it is. Natalie Palskill as a key piece to the Pioneers as well, threat off the bench. And Natalie Grecius is an efficient number for the squad to look out for in that lineup as well.
Yeah, some good players on this Carroll team who I believe hosted at least a regional of the NCAA tournament a season ago. But really quickly, Alex, before we briefly touch on volleyball because we're running a little low on time, any thoughts?
But yeah, like I was doing the board op Saturday, and I mean there were 2 names. I was listening to the game here and there, and I mean 2 names I heard a ton were obviously Casey Corralo and Mallory Olafson. I mean Corralo is playing super well right now. I mean averaging 30 points a game, shooting over 50.
Whoa.
30.
30 minutes a game, buddy.
Averaging 30 minutes. Oh shoot! I don't know why I have points down.
She's
I
good.
must
She's
have-
not that good.
I must have put that down wrong. My apologies. And then Olafson, another name I was hearing a ton, is averaging just over. Oh gosh, I feel like I did this wrong too. Okay, anyway, 60% shooting, overshooting. Okay.
That
We'll
should
go
be
with that. We'll go with
Yeah.
that.
I'll believe you.
You don't want to know what's on
You're-
my
you're
card.
in great.
What'd you have for
Wow.
points per game for that?
It doesn't matter.
1,000 points a game. Not real loud.
1,000.
Put her in the NBA right now.
57
League her.
points.
What is
Why
she
is
doing
she in
here?
D3?
Okay, but yeah, 5 offensive boards, which leads the team. And then I actually had Logan Lowry down as well in one game against DePaul. Coming off the bench, scoring 9 points, 4 for 5 on field goals with 4 rebounds. It was huge. But yeah, big game against unranked Carroll coming up this weekend. And leaning on these starters will prove to be beneficial for this team.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm going to move right on to volleyball really quickly. They begin their WIAC tournament journey this weekend against or I believe it might be tonight, actually.
It is tonight.
It is tonight
7
against
Tonight,
Stout.
my mistake.
Pack
Here
the
at
Russ.
the Chris Russell Volleyball Gymnasium against the 6-seeded Stout Whitewater coming in at number 3, finished with a 5-2 record in conference with losses to Oshkosh and Stevens Point. Whitewater swept Stout over the weekend 3-0. Guys, is there what are you guys expecting from this really quickly?
I'm expecting a Whitewater W. I mean, we handled Stout. I understand that the games were pretty close for the most part, but we did win 3 sets to none. And And it's good that we have Stout as our first matchup in the WEAC tournament, because I don't want to say it's an easy win because Stout's ranked 6th, so it's definitely going to be
Ranked sixth.
in the
They're the
WEAC.
6th seed.
I mean, any game in a tournament is there's gonna be some extra stakes there, though,
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
Oh,
Right,
Absolutely.
especially a WEAC tournament where it's not just for, to move on to the next round. It's bragging rights. I mean, you're
Yeah.
going to see these same people next year, and maybe,
Well,
whoever.
Stout, I think Stout might be fighting for like a tournament spot.
Well, Stout's going to
potentially, I
lose,
think.
Mikey. How about
I'm
that?
just trying
Well, but
Stout's
Whitewater is
Hibachi meat.
Whitewater has Whitewater has a very strong senior class on this team. Elena Jansky, Jaden Evans, I believe Hannah Proctor, and Jenna Weinfurt are all seniors this year. A very experience-driven team, and this is really their last go-around before they all say goodbye to college volleyball. So, anyone else have any thoughts on this team
And
and
we're
what you
12-1.
think? What you think they could what they could do going forward?
12-1 at
I
home.
mean, Alex Laz narrowed it down pretty well, but ultimately, I mean, kind of going with them, it should definitely be a finals team for sure in the WEAC tournament. I mean, their past 7 games, they've swept every single opponent so far. I think they played only like 87 sets this season in 26 games, which is an insane amount. It's just 3.35 sets a game. But with the highest hitting percentage in the WEAC, I mean, you really just got to dominate. Abby Dix, Elena Jansky, Hannah Proctor at the net is always a phenomenal defensive opponent to go up against for anyone, really. But ultimately, this should be a team that should definitely make a finals run.
Mikey thinks they're going to the finals. Ryan or Alex, any other thoughts?
I just think you
Okay.
can't take this game lightly. I mean, it's
Mikey has an opinion, whatever.
yeah, it's totally on an opinion talk show here, Chris Pittner.
Not at all. Strictly factual.
Yeah, but I just think that you can't take any WEAC matchup too lightly, because then again, Stout is 13-12 on the year. They're 3-4 in conference play, but and they have not beat a ranked opponent yet all season. But it's not going to be easy for the Warhawks. Like Laz was saying, all their sets were super close, and Whitewater has a tendency to get out to a big lead and then give up a run or two here. I've been to games myself, and I've seen this happen first person. And you just gotta stick to the basics and lean on your veterans.
Ryan, I hate to be devil's advocate here, but you said nothing's easy except for the fact that Stout is under 500 in conference, has yet to beat a ranked opponent this year, and we swept them.
God, Ryan, what are you doing?
Yeah, but
you
they're
don't belong here.
but they're in the WEAC, so you can't take it too lightly.
As the one ad on UWW-TV says about Whitewater, you belong here.
The Broncos beat the Chiefs last year. It's not
True.
True.
And they almost did again this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, anyways.
But they didn't.
Yeah, Stout, we're going to beat Stout. If we don't, we're cooked, we're hibachi meat, we're dog water, whatever you want to say. But that's really not what we have to worry about. We have to really focus on potentially seeing Oshkosh later in that WEAC
Or
tournament.
Stevens Point, for that
Or
matter.
Stevens Point, who also beat us. So 2 other WEAC teams that beat us. Stevens Point was unranked at the time they beat us, and I think they still are.
Yeah.
So 2 teams you really have to worry about. If they win, if Whitewater wins, they play Stevens Point, who does have a bye. So you get it over with Stout, a team that you swept just earlier, just like last game, you swept them, so you already know how they're going to play. You're ready for that. You get that out of the way, and then you really got to lock in for Stevens Point, who beat you before 2-3, so it was really competitive. But like we were all talking about in the WEAC, things get super competitive, so things aren't going to come easy in this WEAC tournament,
Well,
other
also-
than Stout.
Also, Stevens Point, I think, is on I think they're on like a 4-game losing streak right now or something.
Something to note
Stevens
for sure.
Point is-
Coming in a little cold to the tournament.
I will fact check, Mikey.
I think it's 4. It might be not 4.
Great analysis from
Yeah,
Mikey Peterson,
might not
our
be 4.
senior
It's
sports
4.
insider.
It
not
could
4.
potentially be 4.
Guarantee it.
It will be a number.
Mikey, you are just totally wrong.
Was it?
Yeah, they
it was.
won 2 of their last 3.
Oh, well.
Well,
Maybe I was looking at
So
I was
they
looking at a
lost in
different team.
3
Colorado
sets
to
to
the side of
Platteville,
the
though.
leg.
Wrong team.
Sets
Wrong
to
team.
you
Wrong
is
team.
Mike.
They lost to Oshkosh and Platteville, who are both also very good teams.
And they swept River Falls and University of Chicago.
Something to
team.
note.
Those are
So a
wrong
bit of
team.
an up and down stretch to end the season, but with that, we're gonna move on to our next topic so we can get it in. I called this one "Laid Bare" for all to see. The Bears took an embarrassing loss this weekend. Embarrassing, pun intended. To the New England Patriots,
Whoa.
and And they fired their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, this morning after only half a season with the team. A lot of fans were calling for his head. Guys, do you think there's any chance, Alex, I'll start with you on this one, that the Bears can rebound from this and get back on the right track?
I think it's going to be a little rough at first. I mean, obviously, a coaching, like a head coaching change is a little different from an offensive coaching or from an offensive coordinator change, I think, for me. But just a little fun fact about the Bears right now: a few veteran players actually, like on the Bears, have reportedly requested that backup QB Tyson Bagent should get the start over rookie Caleb Williams.
Some trouble in paradise.
So it's
Why
a little.
not?
I know for a fact it was DJ
Yep,
Moore.
that's
My fantasy team would appreciate
Yeah.
that.
No doubt.
I
it is
no
mine.
doubt it was
It's
DJ Moore.
100%
100%.
DJ.
It's got to be. He's just kind of a divo. But I think this is a bit of
Kinda?
an overreaction.
Maybe.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think the Bears' recent offensive struggles is the result of Caleb, so I don't know what they're talking about. But I doubt going into this week that much will change. That much change will happen in the short term. I mean, usually when this sort of things happens, you see players like jumpstart, like they kind of get their. I think team morale is usually boosted when this happens. I mean, they have to kind of show it that it was the offensive coordinator holding them back rather than themselves. Like I mean, the Saints game against the Falcons. I mean, first game with a new head coach at the helm, Saints pull out the win, and it seemed that players are playing with more heart, and I feel like that's huge when a head coaching change happens. I feel like you could see something similar with the Bears game against the Packers.
I was kind of hoping that they would wait another week to do this, but, it
Yeah.
is what it is.
But yeah, I mean, the Packers are only one game behind the Vikings, which proves that this game is very important for them. But I mean, I think the Packers are taking this. But don't be surprised if the second game of the season where they verse each other again, the Bears are clawing for a playoff spot that they need it. But I think it's not going to come this early. I think the Bears are going to struggle for a little bit longer.
Yeah, Caleb might have some problems. I would assume Jeff Hafley is probably going to be blitzing quite a bit this weekend.
Yeah.
Getting some pressure on him and then just hoping that his defensive playmakers are able to make those plays. On to Mikey, what are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, Alex narrowed it down pretty well, but ultimately I would not be too shocked if the Bears just get stonewalled, just get destroyed in this game. But I also am partially expecting the Bears to maybe have a little rally going. Obviously, Caleb Williams. I said it at the beginning of the year. I thought, or before the year started, I said that Caleb Williams will have a Jordan Love type season where he's just going to need to adjust to the NFL level. And I think that this is just about that perfect game. It's a home game against your most hated rival in the league. I mean, this should be a very interesting contest. Obviously, Green Bay 0-2 in the division. They just need a division win at this point. So it's a must-win for both teams. It's not just a must-win for Chicago. It's a must-win for Green Bay because they have not won a division game yet. They've came close against the Vikings in a comeback, fell short, just played like absolute dog water against the Lions.
Hibachi, they were cooked.
Yeah, hibachi me. They were cooked. but must win for both teams for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, but I'll let Ryan take over.
Yeah, I saw something this morning. It was pretty funny, but the Bears just have kept making the same mistake. When they drafted Trubisky in 2017, John Fox was the head coach and Dowell Loggins was the OC. Both were fired after that season. Then Matt Nagy was hired as head coach in 2018, along with the new OC and Mark Helfrich. They were both there for 2 years until Helfrich was fired the 2020 season. They hired Bill Lazor, and then the Bears drafted Justin Fields in 2021. Nagy and Lazor were then fired after Fields' 2021 season. Eberflus and Luke Getsy were then hired. And pretty much what I'm trying to say is their quarterbacks have gone through two systems in 2 years. And they're doing the same thing with Caleb Williams.
It almost feels like a rinse and repeat
It
type
does,
situation.
yeah.
It almost
It's
felt like they were on the
unbelievable.
right track this
Yep.
offseason, hiring a brand new offensive coordinator. Now, reviews on him, I know Seattle, where he came from, wasn't the most fond of him, but new team, new situation,
'cause-
some good playmakers there, which they still have, and I still feel like they can turn it around if they really put their minds to it.
Well, don't be surprised if Eberflus is fired after Week 18.
Oh, I'm not
if not
surpri-
earlier. And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
that
I
they're going
thought-
to ruin Williams' career again.
I honestly thought they were going to fire him if they lost to the Patriots, but I stood corrected, obviously.
It almost feels like the tides were turning, at least in the offseason a little bit for the Bears, that they were starting to turn over a new leaf, starting to kind of shed what was making them so toxic the last 15 years or so, especially.
Because they got a Hard Knocks episode here and there, or what?
Well,
they got the best
it
player in the
just
league,
felt
Tory
like
Taylor.
no. It felt like the defense was getting better. They made that trade for Sweat. They made actual progress towards the end of last year. Obviously, Green Bay kind of had a field day with them. But besides that one game, the defense was rock solid the second half. They swung that trade for Keenan Allen. They drafted a solid receiver. They got their guy at one with Caleb Williams. It just felt like, obviously the offensive line was still the biggest concern, but it felt like some of the pieces were kind of falling into place. They got a decent enough running back in free agency. They signed Kevin Byard for the secondary. Jaquan Brisker was there. Kyler Gordon was there. Jalen Johnson was there. It just kind of felt like things were coming into place a little bit, but they just haven't been able to put it together.
Are you a closeted Bears fan?
No.
Chris Pittner?
No, but I have friends who are
Bears
Bears fans, so I don't really talk
Okay.
much trash about them as opposed to some other teams.
Okay.
I just listened to 91.7 The Score. They just talk trash about their team.
91-7 the
The
score?
score?
Or, did I say 91.7 The Score? Oh my
Correct.
gosh.
91.7 The Edge.
I am an
You're
absolute
listening.
casual. I meant
To live
670 The
sports coverage.
Score.
Mikey Peterson.
I'm a casual radio man over here. I
Yes,
do not
you
know my
are.
radio shows.
Mute his mic.
Ben knew that.
Mute Mike
For the third week in a row.
Beat his kneecaps in.
Perma mute.
On to Colin.
this
What are
isn't
your
the
thoughts on
Lions.
this game?
Yeah, you can check the tapes all the way back to last semester here on Hawk Talk. I've been saying I just hate the way the Chicago Bears are running their football team. Like, you went into depth on what they've been doing, but throwing in a new quarterback every 2 years, firing coaches left and right, trying to fix it all at once, it's not going to happen. You put guys into uncomfortable situations with the quarterback situation, and then as soon as they have 5 bad games, you give up on them, and you don't give them any time to develop. We saw it with Trubisky, we saw it with Justin Fields, and now we're about to see it again with Caleb Williams. And you're at a position where you're not going to win the NFC North. You've got 3 actual contenders in your division. Take these next couple of years to develop a young core, get a coaching staff that you like, and then eventually you'll come out of the other end pretty well off. You just got to weather the storm right now, but that is not what they've been doing. We talked about how bad their offense has been, but their defense has been bad too, allowing 190 passing yards a game and 130 rushing yards a game. So I'm sure Matt LaFleur and Josh Jacobs will have a field day with that. And back to the offense, they've only been 28% on third down. So it's like
That's abysmal.
you're getting into these third down situations, and then you're not able to convert. So you just can't expect to move the ball and things like that happen. We talked about how many times they were sacked, or Caleb Williams was sacked last week. So I don't think he's been playing terrible. 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, almost 200 passing yards a game. But a lot of it is bad decision making by him. A lot of it's bad play calling, but most of it is just really on the offensive line. You have to give a guy, especially a rookie quarterback like this, time in the pocket to read those reads down the field and just decide what he wants to do with it. But he has no time to do that. And when you're only able to put up 9 points on a team like Arizona, 3 points on the New England Patriots, it's like you're not going to win football teams, especially
You're not
against
going to win football teams.
football
No,
games.
you can't
All
win
right.
a team.
All right.
Come on,
Every
wow.
now and then you're going to say the wrong thing.
Oh,
All right.
I slip up all the time.
Yeah.
Colin doesn't deserve that.
Paul Buddy's perfect, right?
Yeah.
But
No.
Correct.
And then you look at their next 3 matchups: Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, and then San Francisco, Minnesota again. They're cooked. Yeah, this season is
Hibachi
definitely
meal.
It's
over.
It
about
felt
two
like if they were going to
Chicago
get their season back on track, it would have been this week.
The
The
pro-
last 2
see,
games, too.
Also, sorry. go ahead.
Honestly, firing the offensive coordinator, just don't hire a new one. Just let them go out there and play ball at this point. 'Cause
Let 'em have fun.
It felt
Play
like they
some
didn't even
recess
have
football.
an offensive coordinator. You're putting up 3 points on the Patriots. What are you doing? What was he doing over there on the sideline?
Not much is the answer.
Clearly not. So they definitely need some time to figure it out. And this season is cooked. Next season's cooked. The year after that, they're also cooked. So just get your draft capital up. Figure out a coaching staff that you like. And maybe 5 years from now, you can be a decent football team.
Well, going with what he said, though, I feel like a lot of it, they just listen to the fans all the time because the fans will scream, fire Nagy. That season, he's gone, and Justin Fields is just, he's still not great with Matt Eberflus under center. Now they're calling for Matt Eberflus to be fired after just 1 season with Caleb Williams. If you fire Matt Eberflus, yeah, he's lost the locker room, I guess you could say, but I feel like you can't do this to a young quarterback. Just keep throwing him into different system after different system. And I feel like a perfect example of that would be Bryce Young. Because he had, I think it was Matt Rule, right?
Yep.
For
Yeah.
half a season.
No, it's Frank Reich.
Or sorry,
Frank
Frank
Reich.
Reich. And then they fired Frank Reich, got a different head coach for another half of the season. He was terrible. Now they have another new head coach for this season, and
Dave
he was
Canales.
terrible in the first 3-4 whenever he got benched.
I will
He
give
was
them credit.
terrible.
After his benching, he started to play a little better.
He's
now,
played better,
no
yeah.
disrespect to Alex, but the opponents haven't been quite to what the standard
No,
would be
yeah, not
with
at all.
average NFL teams, but
No.
he's looked a little better in those
Yeah.
games.
Hey, don't do that to Alex. His Saints are a great team, all right? They beat the Cowboys
And the Falcons.
6 weeks ago.
Correct.
Yeah.
6 weeks ago.
But I have a question for each of you guys really quick before we move on. Laz, I'll still get to you too. But
Nice.
do you guys think that is it just me on this? Now obviously I'm not immersed in Chicago sports Twitter like I am Wisconsin. Are their fans just way more toxic than ours are?
Yes,
It kind of feels
100%.
that way.
It's just
It
it's
does
Cubs
depend.
and
100%.
Bears fans.
I
I
think-
would be
Hey,
too
hey,
if I was
hey,
a Chicago
Yeah, I was
sports
gonna
fan.
say, like,
As
Chicago
as
sports.
someone who has a lot. Oh,
Well,
my headset came out.
And,
As someone who has a lot of friends that are Bears fans, I can tell you, like, they're not optimistic. That's for sure. It's
No.
not like
They're passionate.
The glass,
Yeah,
the
they
glass
have
is
no
half
reason to
empty,
be.
not half
They
full.
have no
they're
reason
just
to be.
ball
the glass is
enjoyers.
completely
But
you
it
know?
The
feels-
glass is completely
It
empty.
almost
They
feels
love
like they
They love the game.
they get
love
their
the
hopes
hustle.
up every year, and then
Yeah.
immediately when things don't go perfectly, because
Right.
obviously
Yeah, but it never lasts
Sell
past
the
like
team.
week 2. My buddy
pro-
last season, after week 1, he's like, "I'm picking a different team," and we watched the Dolphins all season.
that's
So-
incredible.
The Dolphins.
Yeah,
Why
the
do you-
That was the team he
Oh.
chose.
Yeah, yeah,
Switch to the Dolphins.
yeah. Why
Fun team to
not?
watch.
Oh, I hate
Just
the
to
Bears.
watch
It's supposed
your
to Miami
quarterback get
Dolphins.
murdered
Yeah,
every week.
You
exactly.
just followed the Brandon Marshall plan.
You
I
did.
guess. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think
Jets next.
I don't think Bears fans have ever really been optimistic. At least with it,
It's
at
been-
least in
Not
recent
in our
memories.
It's been
lifetime.
4
Well, the
decades
problem is that they
since
get
There's a
Yeah.
couple weeks in the off season where they're like, okay,
Hey.
maybe.
The problem is that
Maybe.
they get optimistic. They talk all the smack talk in the world, and then the season comes around, and then everyone talks smack to them because they were all
They were
cocky
wrong.
before
It's
the
like
season.
you,
Again.
a Cubs fan.
Hey,
Yeah.
This is
I
exactly
just
what
get my
you do.
hope.
You're
I just get my
describing
hopes
yourself.
up. All right.
Yeah,
Right.
off-season champions, 12 years running.
World Series champions, 2016.
We're talking about football here, Mike.
Yeah, wrong sport.
Come on. They rolling or what?
I mean, when
All right.
when they win it again
All
in 21-24, it's gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
But really quickly, Laz, I'll let you give any final thoughts on this before we move on.
Yeah, I mean, before the season for the Bears, Caleb Williams texted Matt Eberflus and said, "You're not gonna have to be punting."
It was
much
Torrey
this season."
No, it was their
Or
punter.
Tory
He
Taylor.
texted
Tory
the
Taylor?
punter.
Yeah, he texted Tory Taylor. You're not have to punt.
Oh, excuse me. Anyway,
Get it right. All right.
it's just like the amount of times they punted during that Patriots game. Does anyone know the exact number? Because
I think it
I know he was
Quite a
sacked.
few.
Five,
Quite a
I wanna
few.
say. I think I want to say 5.
Let's
I
look,
think-
let's look at his stats here.
He was sacked 9
I
times.
think
that
Tory
game.
Taylor was
9
had to
times.
punt
Ridiculous.
He had 8 punts.
Never mind.
Quarterbacks
Oh
don't
my
even get sacked
gosh.
9 times through like
A
2 or
while.
3 games.
Multiple
Like
Yeah.
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 And he's getting sacked 9 times by the Patriots. I heavily blame the O-line. I mean,
Yeah,
the
well,
only
problem-
fix for that is we're gonna have to get Ryan Halata out there on the O-line. to
Have him
protect
play
Caleb
center.
Williams.
Put that boy in center right now.
Exactly.
Let's see who
Ryan,
drops
you
there.
need
There he
to
is.
start eating some mass
I
gainer
played
shakes
center
and get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Head to
I watched
Jerome
you on Hard
get yourself
Knocks.
5
Because
plays.
he's not a horrible quarterback. He's a rookie who makes
Rookie
mistakes.
mistakes.
Yeah,
Quite literally.
Yeah,
exactly.
as you said, he has just poor decision making. I think a lot of that is because he's under pressure, so he just has to get the ball
Yeah.
out. And kind of like what Jordan Love does, he tries to make a play to where it can harm them more than
He tries to go for the home run
He goes
ball,
for the home
but
run
He
ball.
looks like
and just
Jackson
fails me.
Christ out there. Just he has no time in the pocket, and he's making bad decisions. And it's not all his fault, but it looks bad on him.
yeah.
Right.
Tory Taylor has 25 punts in 5 games.
Wow.
You're not going to be able to.
They're
punt
getting
God.
their money's worth with
they,
him.
they are. They drafted from the 4th round for a reason.
When he's
Hey,
a
I'm
good
just-
punter
my
too. I mean,
God,
he's from
man.
Iowa, so you can kind of expect him to be a dog.
We saw
At punting.
that's fair. We saw on the Wednesday show. We saw Jacob sitting right where Ryan was. He had a Tory Taylor jersey on.
Wow.
One of the greatest jerseys I've ever seen in my entire life.
I gotta respect that.
Greatest punter
That
I've
is
ever seen.
crazy.
Other than Johnny Hecker, he had a generational run.
Back when he was like
Sure.
the fake punt legend,
Correct.
Him and Marquette King. Remember Marquette King?
He was
a-
also a dog.
the flag though.
But I just also want to say that, I haven't watched many Packers games this season, but the ones that I have watched, it looks like they've also taken like half a step back from where they were last season.
They play down their opponent's
The
competition.
problem
Yeah.
is they have so many young guys that are just mistake prone.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the big
Yeah,
thing.
they play down to their opponent's competition.
I mean,
feel
Love
like.
has been hurt all year. Wicks can't catch a pass.
He can't catch a
If you-
cold.
If you literally put the ball in his hand,
Like
if
he
you put the
catch
ball in
COVID
his
in
hands like
2020.
this, he would still drop it. Like
Just placed it gingerly in his
Bad.
hands.
it would still somehow.
He dropped
end
a
up on the ground.
touchdown last
If you-
weekend, and I crashed
Yeah,
out. I crashed out.
If you pulled
I'll
a,
admit.
if you pulled a Sandlot and just dropped the ball in his hands, he still somehow dropped
Probably-
that ball.
There's a fair debate there, unfortunately. But with that, I do want to get really quickly on to the last topic. I titled it On the Clock, and we're going to be talking about the MLB pitch clock today and whether we think it's good or bad for the sport. We don't have a ton of time to get to this today. If we don't get very far into it, we can continue it next week as well. Ryan, I know you're probably the biggest baseball guy in this group, so I'll let you start. What are your thoughts on the pitch clock, positives and negatives, and which side are you on with it?
I like it and I don't like it. I like it when I'm at the game because then the game goes by faster and you're paying for the action that you're there for. But when you're at home, I like to sit on my couch and watch baseball for 3.5 hours.
I'm kind of the opposite of you. I like it
Really?
better when I'm at home and less at the game.
Yeah, you get to savor the
No,
moment
that's
more.
what I mean.
Oh,
Like, so I like the pitch clock when I'm at the game, and I don't like it when I'm
no,
at home.
I'm saying I like
He's
it
the
better when I'm
Yeah,
at home.
He likes it better.
Explain.
So you like
Yeah.
it going fast.
Okay, so my personal opinion is on this. I have a very short attention span, so therefore I don't like
Wow.
to sit there and watch the same thing for 4 hours, basically.
Oh, see, I'm the opposite. I can't
And
do
at the
that.
games, I do like being there for an extended period of time. I was telling Mikey about this earlier today, actually.
that's
I
fair.
was at a game this year where it took an hour and 10 minutes to get to the 7th inning stretch.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just like, maybe when I'm at the games, I just like getting a bang for my buck. I don't know, but when I'm at home, I much prefer it that way because, like, you don't have to, like, wait 30 seconds in between every pitch.
Well, and the shorter games are just the boring ones. There's literally no action.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
always
Pitchers
1-0.
duels.
Yeah.
But I think it's also like contributing to, like, Chris, do you think it's contributing to injuries?
Yeah.
Pitcher
Oh,
injuries.
Absolutely, 100%.
Like, I see both sides of this argument. I'm a fan of it because it makes the games faster, but I also think it ruins the product a little bit in a way.
Because it was the only sport that was not timed, and now it is timed.
Yeah. And it's never been timed before, so
Correct.
pitchers have had to make huge adjustments.
If you're talking about purely for the sport of baseball, then I'm completely against it because, like you said, you're timing the game. It's causing a lot more injuries, and it's just not, how baseball was intended to be played. Now, yeah, it's great for the viewer or for, all that stuff, all that commercial, money stuff, but for the actual game, no.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too.
No.
Mikey, what are your thoughts?
I'm actually for the pitch clock, but I think it should be extended to about 20 to 25 seconds. I
What's
think
it
fif-
at now?
It's
Huh?
15
It's at
when a
15
runner's not
seconds.
on, and I think 20 when a runner's
Yeah,
on.
maximum.
Yeah.
Is that correct, Ryan?
Yeah, it is. I think
wanna
it should.
say-
Jamie, look that up. Jamie, pull that up.
Pull it up right now.
Got it. Who are you calling Jamie?
You ever watch
Oh,
Joe
that's-
Rogan? Whenever they don't
Yeah,
know something, he's like, "Hey, Jamie,
Hey, Jamie,
pull that up."
Jamie, pull it up.
Yeah, Chris, you're right. 30 seconds between at bats, 15 with no runners on base, and 20 with runners on base.
Yeah, I think it should be like 20 without runners, 25 with runners, maybe even 30 with runners if you wanted to say that, just to give them
Well,
a little extra
realistically,
time.
before the pitch clock, how long? would
Yeah,
it
what was
take
the
you?
average time between pitches?
It was
I'd
a
have to
lot.
fact check that.
Jamie?
It was definitely longer
like,
than
it
that.
was like, Jamie,
Something
where are
that
you?
had it worth changing.
The games are shortened by about like maybe 30 minutes or
I
so.
want to say it was
So
like 45 seconds. It could have been. Like
I don't
they-
know if that would be correct because
Like
if
in
that
some-
was the case,
some
It's
the
actually
games
the
some
worst
pitches.
take I've ever heard.
The
in my
games
life.
would
Thank
be
you.
like
so
some
sh-
pitches.
that would be
Some
so
pitches, not all
shortened,
of
if you know
them.
what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
because the games got shortened by maybe like a third, and if the pitch clock was or like the average pitch to like in between pitches time was 30 extra seconds compared to what it is now, they would have been a lot longer.
Jamie, what do you
All
got
right.
over there?
Yeah, so Jamie has an answer. It was 18.3 seconds with bases empty and 23.2 seconds with runners on base.
So it's not
in
as much as I
2020.
thought it
Barely a
would have been.
difference.
Yeah,
It wasn't that much
Until
of a
you
difference,
keep
but
adding it up.
then you keep adding the seconds up and it adds to minutes.
That adds about
Adds like
probably
an
an extra
hour.
20 to 30 minutes
Correct.
to every game, at least.
Yeah.
And that
Because
was
you're
on
getting-
average. There's pitchers that are faster than other
Yeah,
ones
there's,
Well, you're
too.
there's some that take forever.
You're getting 27 at bats at least a game, so
Because when you got a pitcher like I think Devin Williams has just like 3 pitch selections, then it's going to take a little bit quicker, obviously. But then you got a pitcher like Max Scherzer who has 5 pitch selections, and it's like, all right, then it's going to take a little bit longer because you got 5 pitches to think about
then
instead
you
of
got
just
then you
3.
got, then you got guys like Brent Suter who's just ready to go when he gets the ball.
Yeah, essentially.
Dog.
The up
We just, need
tempo pace.
we just need knuckleballers back in the MLB. We need more knuckleballers. We can just start hawking up knuckleballs and then just get it over with.
Matt Waldron.
There aren't a ton of them.
There's only
anymore.
there's only I think only one in the MLB
Matt
right
Waldron
now.
on the
Matt
pa-
Waldron.
on the
I think he's the
Padres.
only one. I think there's some like 2 in the minors, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's positives and negatives to both sides of this as well. I mean, it's a give and take, but Alex, I want to hear your thoughts before we move on.
But yeah, I'm in favor. I do think it's good for like audiences. Like I remember when I was younger, it was really hard for me to like get into watching baseball just because of like how long it was and just how there wasn't really that much action throughout the entire game. I mean, you're sitting there itching for the game to end, and it seems never ending. I mean, at least when I was younger. And I think the pitching clock really helps to attract younger audiences, especially in a sport like baseball. I think always having a younger audience is huge. I mean, other sports, a lot more action. Baseball, I mean, there's action in baseball, but it's not nearly as much as other sports. So it really helps that this pitch clock helps younger audiences get involved. But I also think the pitching clock helps to get people pitchers and hitters into a consistent rhythm, which is really important for action-wise, because you get a batter in rhythm. I mean, he's cooking, but it's but obviously, as we talked about, there are positive and negatives, but I'm for it.
Gosh, I had a thought, but I think overall, baseball games in general, the Brewers playoffs this year was incredibly entertaining. Even though they lost that series, there was a lot of good baseball being played. You saw it in that second game and the third game, 2 comebacks at the end. Heck, even the first game, 8-4, that's a lot of runs scored, but not all games are like that. And obviously, it's kind of like with other sports too. There's going to be entertaining games and there's going to be pitchers duels, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So it's you can't guarantee entertainment with baseball, and I feel like that's kind of one of the drawbacks to why people don't watch it is sometimes they're just not entertained enough by the sport. Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I was never really into baseball until the pitch clock. I liked going to the games, but watching it on TV was paint drying to me.
I agree.
That's kind of where I was at with it a little bit too.
I'm the total opposite of you guys. I've always loved watching baseball.
Old-fashioned gal.
Big baseball guy.
There's a lot of
Classy
people
gal.
that I feel like you're either a diehard in baseball or you're you hardly pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So
There's not a
pretty
ton of
much-
casual baseball fans.
Yeah, no casuals.
It's there will be casuals.
Mikey's a casual, but
That might just-
Wow.
Yeah, watches a ton of baseball, but is still a casual.
Yeah,
Pete
it's insane.
Alonso, Buckaroo.
All
All
right.
right.
What about Pete Alonso?
Just pull out his
Three-run
name.
shot
Pete
to right.
Alonso.
You would have thought.
Oh, yeah.
You would have thought he was on the Cubs this year with how much you bring him up.
I know.
It's the first time I brought him up.
That can't be
I've
true.
heard it
That's
before.
not
I
true.
can
There's
I can
only
remember.
one name that's been
remember every
dropped
time.
on this show,
say
arguably
it.
more, but I'm not going to.
Don't say
Wait,
it.
you mean
LeBron James.
I feel like we have
Hold
to
up.
say it
Wait,
Hold up. Mute his mic. Now. Go. Mute.
All right.
You 4.
Really quickly, we're gonna have to move on to final thoughts. It's a little bit shorter today. Alex, I'll start with you. Any final thoughts today?
Last week Thursday on Hawk Talk, I took the Broncos and I was looking at the game at halftime, the score, and I was really happy because it was my upset pick of the week. And then all of a sudden I hear they blocked a kick to win. I don't know what black magic the Chiefs are doing, but it can't be legal.
It's black and white magic.
I
It's
don't
referee
understand it,
magic.
man. It's insane.
I
I was watching that
Yeah.
and had
That was clever.
Thank you.
I was thinking to myself, I'm they're probably gonna miss this, but I didn't think it would be blocked. I just thought it would be he shanks it to the right or something
Just
like
wow.
that.
Leo Chenal, Wisconsin legend.
Yeah, I wish he wasn't on the Chiefs. Mikey?
I'm going to the NBA. I don't watch a lot of basketball, but the Eastern Conference is buns. They are
Yeah.
terrible.
One team in particular.
One team in
with,
particular, a 2-8 team that has only beaten and battered 76ers team, and a 2-win Utah Jazz team, who's currently the worst team in the Western Conference.
not looking great. Not at all.
Specifically, that team is absolutely terrible.
I'm
but
avoiding talking about them on this show.
Yeah, it's
it's like
pulling up
who
the standings
who
right now.
shall not be named.
Well, I am not. My my final thought is going to continue. I think the Bucks go 2-6 their next 8 games and changes are made. They have the Raptors, Pistons, Hornets, Rockets, Bulls, Pacers,
You're losing to
Hornets
the
again,
Bulls.
and the Heat.
There's some very winnable games in there, though.
not
the
the
Raptors
Bulls.
and
The
Pistons?
Hornets.
Not the
I mean-
Bulls.
You'd think they're
Dude,
winnable.
LaMelo's going off for
Including
like
the Bulls.
35 each game.
Not the
Most
Bulls.
likely. And Dame just entered concussion protocol, too.
Correct.
So Ryan Rollins is the starting point guard.
Yeah, so in other words, Kobe White's about to drop an 81-point game.
Most
is what I'm
likely.
hearing.
He's going to
Kobe-
channel the other Kobe.
Kobe White is about to break the scoring record for
All
a
right,
single
off
game.
the Bulls, on to Colin.
Yeah, I see the rumors. Giannis to the Warriors. No. We can't let that happen.
He's going to the Lakers instead.
He's not going
We
anywhere.
could allow that to happen.